Recently, I made this wood diamond home decor for my son or daughter's room. Haven't quite decided yet. And I really wanted to share it with you because it's easy to make. It's something that's very unique, you don't see everywhere right now. And you can customize it for any sizes you want. You can also change out the inner diamonds if you want them bigger or smaller, and change out the color scheme. So let me show you how I made this. I bought a 1/2-inch project panel. These are the 2 feet by 4 feet panels they sell at hardware stores. Next, I started measuring out my diamond. I already played around with sizes, so I knew I needed my plywood to be 30 3/4 inches tall by 17 3/4 inches wide. I marked the center of the sides, top, and the bottom. Then connected them with a straight edge to make a diamond. I tried to get a second one out of it, but as you can see, I didn't have quite enough room. So one project panel will make one full diamond wall art. To cut out the large diamond, I used my circular saw and a board that I clamped down to the workbench. This is a great way to get straight cuts when you are starting out in woodworking. Some cannot afford a table saw, and others just aren't comfortable using one. In this case, I have a table saw, but I still couldn't use it on this cut because I don't have a sled set up large enough to handle this. Just for reference, my top and bottom angles were 33 degrees, and the sides were 92 degrees. After I cut the diamond out, I took it over to the table saw and used it as a reference for the angle. Once I had the angle set, I started cutting out the other 2 diamonds. You can cut yours any size you want, and as long as your angle is set, it will look proportioned correctly. My medium diamond without trim is 14 inches tall by 8 inches wide, and the small one is 4 3/4 inches tall by 2 3/4 inches wide. You can use any kind of plywood for this project, but I would recommend a sanded one with as smooth of a finish that you can get, just so you don't see the grain pattern through the paint. Once I had my diamonds cut, I sanded the edges with 220 grit sandpaper. At first, my plan was to only use 2 plywood diamonds and have the 3rd diamond just be trim pieces. However, I didn't like that look. It just didn't look even, so you'll see that I end up cutting out a 3rd diamond out of the plywood. For the trim, I cut a piece of common board down into 3/4 inch strips. You can find square doweling strips at your local hardware store if you don't want to make your own. If I make this again, I think I'll use a thicker trim. I'd like to see a little more contrast between the trim and the plywood, so maybe a 1x2 board. Using the same angle on the miter saw gave me a cut on the trim pieces that matched exactly. I played around a lot with the trim pieces just to make it look right, and I ended up wrapping around the diamond and overlapping the last piece. I found this chasing corners look worked best with this design to give it a clean and even look. I painted the wood diamonds with white paint in the color alabaster. I did 2 coats just to make sure it had a nice full coverage. As I said earlier, you could easily change the look of these by painting them different colors. I'm sure if my daughter would have chosen, it would have been teal. While the paint was drying, I laid out all of my trim boards. I stained them using Minwax Dark Walnut. If you like this build, please make sure to subscribe. Using wood glue and 1-inch brads, I attached the trim to the diamond. I then repeated this process on the middle diamond. I really like the simple yet classic look of this wall art. I feel like it could go with a lot of different home decor. I'm excited to make a few more and play around with the sizing and the colors. I figured out where I wanted the second diamond to sit. Then I flipped it over, put wood glue on the back, and used brads to hold it in while the glue dries. Lastly, I repeated this with the smallest diamond. I finished up by using a spray-on clear coat to protect it. I will also add some hanging hardware to the back so I can hang it on the wall.